retribution. They are going to get what is coming to them. And it's not my responsibility to dish it out. It's not. Good morning, it's Shanna. This week is continuing the perimenopause/menopause series that I started last month in February. And for all intents and purposes, I plan to have this done or to do a video once a month throughout the year of 2025. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm going to be using the Old Ways Magic Oracle, and I had intended originally to just use tarot, but because this one's aesthetic is so perfect for today's prompt, I guess, that I couldn't resist. So this is what we're going with, and obviously, you know, if you do the spreads and the journaling prompts, you can choose the deck that most resonates for you for this spread. So essentially, I also have notes, so I will be reading off of those. Punk rock taught us to question everything and create our own solutions, and now we're applying that same energy to navigating perimenopause, no conformity required, right? So we're going to be flipping through this deck as I talk a little bit about it, and then we'll move into the spread and the journaling prompts. So let's just kind of start here. Okay. Let's see. So the first thing I have here is examining how Punk's DIY ethic applies to finding personalized solutions. And actually, before I get into that, I kind of wanted to break down what punk rock is, because if you're like me, I could probably pick a song out of like a lineup, right, and say that yes, that's definitively punk rock, but to have a description of what it actually is, I thought might be helpful for this exercise. So again, I'm kind of referring to my notes. So 80s punk rock was an evolution of the original 1970s punk movement, characterized by its aggressive, fast-paced music and anti-establishment ethos. The key elements, it was stripped down, high energy, with short, fast songs. It had raw, distorted guitars, prominent bass lines, and driving drums. It often featured shouted or snarled vocals, emphasis on intensity over technical proficiency. So it had a very DIY culture surrounding it. Let's see, rejected mainstream, anti-authoritarian, especially on political issues, which, you know, the anti-authoritarian, I believe I kind of touched on that briefly with the last video. I don't know if that's just a specifically Gen X thing, but I feel like that's one of the things that's described, you know, when people talk about Gen X generation. So let's see what else. So the visual aesthetics are mohawks, leather jackets, band patches. Some of the key bands that I found were the Dead Kennedys, Bad Brains, Circle Jerks, Bad Religion, Minor Threat, Black Flag, Misfits, and The Exploited. And obviously there's going to be way more than that, and you may or may not disagree with that. I'll be 100% honest, I've never heard of any of those bands. Those are the ones that came up when I searched, you know, iconic 80s punk rock bands. So with all of that in mind, let's get back to the original question, which was examining how punk's DIY ethic applies to finding personalized solutions. I think where I will start is saying that 80s punk rock offers a surprising parallel to navigating perimenopause. It was built on the DIY, which we kind of discussed, rejecting corporate control in favor of self-determination. Similarly, perimenopause often requires moving beyond one-size-fits-all medical approaches to creating your own path, which is kind of what we're touching on today. On that note, I am not offering medical advice in any way, shape, or form. This is a tarot video about my experience with the cards and how I'm navigating perimenopause. So again, this is not medical advice in any way. Similar to punk rockers who learned instruments without formal training, educate yourself about hormonal changes instead of relying solely on potentially outdated medical paradigms. And I think that sort of speaks to itself of Google searching, right? I have no idea how women in past generations sort of navigated this. Or maybe they just didn't. They just dealt with it and moved through it as best they could, because I know a lot of times their parents, or their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunts weren't talking about it. So I think something to be said about the Generation X too is being able to experiment, trying different herbs, trying different exercises, asking questions and seeing what works for others, and then being willing to play around and see what works and what doesn't, and take what works, leave behind what doesn't, and move forward. So I think another benefit that we have as, this generation is that we were kind of the first, I think we were the first generation to really have access, like at-home access to the internet. So we were able to go into chat rooms and forum groups, and, then there was MySpace, which I don't know if people talked about that on MySpace, but I know, on Facebook now, there's groups, there's TikTok, which has countless videos on the topic. So I think in a lot of ways we are lucky that we have a lot of resources. But it can also lead to a lot of overwhelm, because there's a lot of resources, there's a lot of opinions, and there's a lot of things to be tried, and even more things to buy, between all the herbs and the sleeping, supplements, or weight loss supplements, or there's a lot, and I think it can easily lead to decision fatigue. So along those lines, being able to question authority, questioning, when our doctor says that's normal, being able to go, well, maybe it's normal for some, but it doesn't feel normal to me, and even if it's normal, I don't like it, so I want to fix it. I want it to be better. I think social media has a unique bend to it, in that my assumption is that doctors are probably on social media as much as us normal, regular people, right? So they are seeing the issues that we're going through. And I think the ones who are passionate about their field and who actually want to make things better, hopefully are taking what women are saying and talking about and doing their own research so that they can better serve their patients. And then I think too, just being able to trust our own experience and not taking the doctor's word for it necessarily. I think social media gives us that unique perspective and power, where we just really didn't have that before. Okay, so let's go with the spread. Let's go with that next. And I've called it the Punk Priestess because that sounded fun. So, I'm just going to shuffle these a little bit now that we've looked through them like 8 times. So the first position is the Riot Act. What systems are you ready to challenge? Second position is the Underground. Where are you finding unconventional wisdom? Position 3 is the DIY solution. What unique approaches are working for you? Position 4 is the Mosh Pit. Where do you need to release energy? And 5 is the Manifesto. What truth are you ready to amplify? So with all that being said, I'm going to shuffle once more. We'll split the deck and we'll take the top 5. Boy, this guy wants to talk. Okay. All right, position 1, the Riot Act. What systems are you ready to challenge? The underground. Where are you finding unconventional wisdom? Make sure these are lined up. Number 3 is the DIY solution. What unique approaches are working for you? Position 4 is the Mosh Pit. Where do you need to release energy? And position 5, the Manifesto. What truth are you ready to amplify? Okay, so we'll kind of dig into these briefly. Let's see, the Riot Act. What systems are you ready to challenge? So retribution. Okay, not only did I need to pause to take a drink, but I will admit here, while I feel like I've used this word in a sentence before, I had to look up the definition because I wanted to make sure I got it right. So retribution is punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. And to that I say, yes, please. So I don't know if this spread is specifically for me in this moment. I'm going to assume probably so. I feel like that's the way these cards work, whether or not we say it is or not. To some degree it is. And at least with this first card, this resonates, it hits home. This past couple of weeks at work has been exceptionally challenging. And we've had a big transition where people were coming and going, and somebody's ethics were brought under scrutiny. I went to the higher ups and I brought up that person and said, hey, this person, under these old rules has been doing these things that I don't feel are ethical. And now you know. And my naive self thought that they would be like, OMG, we need to fire this person, because in any other company ever, that person would have been fired for these things that they're doing. However, shocker, I was told to play nice. So even just talking about it makes me angry and gives me goosebumps. I told them I've been playing nice for 4 years, and that person is now their liability. That person is now their responsibility. And I went home and I thought about it and I lost sleep over it, and I'm pissed. Like, I just don't understand. And I don't have it in me to fight them on it. So what did I do? I came home and I put together a spell. I worked with my runes. I lit a candle. I used salt and wrote down my feelings and did all the things that we do, right? To create this spell? What is that? This spell of protection and retribution. They are going to get what is coming to them. And it's not my responsibility to dish it out. It's not. At least not in this particular situation. So, what systems am I ready to challenge? I'm ready to challenge the bullshit of being told to sit down and be quiet. I'm sick of it. So, let's move on. Position 2 is the underground. Where are you finding unconventional wisdom? The bounty. So I feel like the first thing that I'm thinking of is just unconventional in this current day and time of constant overconsumption. I think I touched on that a little bit a minute ago. Just, we're constantly told that in order to feel better, we have to get this pill, and we have to exercise more, and we have to not even have to, that if we buy these clothes or this makeup or do our hair this certain way and buy these products, go to these places, do this thing, that we're going to feel better. And I think we forget and lose touch with, we can be happy with what we have. We just have to recognize that what we have is enough. And I'm not saying that this is true for everybody. I'm saying for me in this moment, this card, that's what it's speaking to, of just saying, you know, I have enough. It's not, you know, I don't have to have the newest car, and I don't have to have the prettiest couch. That's what comes to mind, because that's been a topic of conversation here for a while now. I'd really love to get a new couch, but with 4 pets, it's just not very, what's the word? It's not very wise. So we're just holding on to it, and I'm learning to be happy with it and to just enjoy its comfort. So that's what that is for me. So the DIY solution, what unique approaches are working for you? So liminal. Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I come up to my tarot desk, you know, it has my altar space. I've got my candle and my crystals. I have my herbs. I have, you know, this window that I can look out at. I can look at the seasons change. I have 2 huge, beautiful trees out front, or not out front, but outside of my window. And for me, this is my liminal space. This is where I can come and just set everything else aside and focus on what I'm feeling and process those emotions, you know, good, bad, or otherwise. Being able to utilize this liminal space for myself. So position 4 is the Mosh Pit, which I thought that was such a, I don't know, I thought it was funny. Where do you need to release energy? And yeah, fierce. So maybe this is, you know, I feel like this is almost kind of a poking at me, like, hey, I know you said that this isn't your responsibility, but maybe it is. Maybe you do need to make a fuss. Maybe you do need to be a little louder. Maybe you shouldn't be sitting down and just letting things happen. So, noted. Okay. Position 5 is the Manifesto. What truth are you ready to amplify? The connection. Yeah, I need to connect more with people. I love the connection I have here on YouTube. I've had a connection with several people on Instagram, but I am missing the person-to-person connection. Just the community, I guess. I miss that. I had it in Texas. I haven't found it here. So that is the truth, and I feel like I think this is telling me, like, hey, work on it, figure it out. You know, it's not just going to happen. You have to go out there and, like, make the effort. And I did a little bit, and then I kind of backed off, and then I did a little bit, and then I backed off. So I think I just, I need to kind of step back into that space a little and make that happen for myself. So, okay, next, let's look at our journaling prompts for this theme. The first journaling prompt is, my punk rock approach to perimenopause means ... So it says, this prompt encourages embracing the rebellious spirit of punk to challenge traditional narratives around the aging and claim your own path. And I just thought that was a really powerful journal prompt. I haven't done it yet. I kind of wanted to let this be its own space and moment in time so that when I'm done with the video, I can sit down and come back to it. Potentially even draw more cards, but I feel like this was so on point. I will probably just use these cards for that prompt. And then prompt number 2 is, my personal manifesto of power declares ... So it says, this prompt invites you to channel the bold, unapologetic energy of punk into your own declaration of strength. So a couple of journaling prompts there for you. Again, I mentioned in the last one, if you are so inclined to, do a VR to this, or if you want to share your journal, your journal entry with me, feel free to email me or DM me. A few of you have reached out via email, and I think that's great. I love it. I love the little personal connection outside of the social aspect of it. So you're always welcome to do that, and I will always write back. So okay, so we're going to get into the ritual. I'm going to pause the video, go ahead and set things up, and then I'll be back.